Hi everyone, and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I'm Pramod Borkar. I'm part of a product team here at Neo4j, and I focus more on the cloud and Aura deployments. Right. Today we'll be covering some of the new capabilities that we announced recently. In fact, this was announced like a couple of weeks back, and then that we recently launched. And our agenda here is, we'll go over the core principles or core pillars of Neo4j Graph Database. We'll dig deeper on new AuraDB cloud capabilities, and we'll have a live demo. And if time permits, obviously we'll have a Q&A. But you can also ping me later, and we'll answer your questions. So before we dig in, let's set the stage by talking about why enterprises need graph databases, right? And what modern database requirements look like. So in today's environment, enterprises have a very low tolerance to downtime. Any outage, obviously translates directly to lost revenue, and this is true across any industries, right? Today. And coming to security, obviously security is another critical expectation from organizations. They want the security built in within the products and platform, and they also need to meet the growing set of security regulations, right? So that's it's basically table stakes now with a lot of enterprises. And of course, enterprises are dealing with ever increasing volumes of data, right? That can come from many data sources. And it's also the dealing with complex workloads, right, in the modern environment. So modern databases have to handle all of that. It's not only vertical scale, they have to scale horizontally as well, right? So the performance at scale becomes important. And in addition to all of that, obviously, we need to have a premium support. If something goes wrong, you can call professional services or support and get your enterprise database up and running, or keep it up and running all the time. So coming back to this, how are we aligning, right, to these enterprise needs, right? So Neo4j is basically graph database. It's a native graph database and analytics platform. So instead of rows and columns, we have as a foundation layer, we have something called as a property graph model. It's a native graph model that we've built. So instead of rows and columns, we have something called nodes and relationships, right? So think of that as edges and vertices, if you will. And this structure makes it much easier to and natural to traverse and analyze connected data. And today everything is connected, right? So it makes it a lot more easier to store that in a graphical structure. Next, we have on top of that, once you have that foundation layer, you obviously need to have security. So we have database security inbuilt. Also, we have security on the platform, right? So we have standards like ISO, GDPR, and HIPAA compliant, and more. And so we are also bringing in other features which will actually touch upon as a new enhancement in the stock. And we have fine-grained access control as well, right? And then once you have that, so how do you retrieve information, retrieve data, right? So that's where the GQL comes in. GQL is a graph query language. It's in fact an ISO standard as of last year. Just like SQL, we have a GQL now, right? So you can query the graph structure. And this Cypher is basically a derivative of GQL. Cypher is how you match patterns. It's basically a declarative query language. It's purpose built to match information from a graph structure. So you can match patterns and very easily in your graph databases. So that's your foundation, right? So that's your foundation layer where you have property graph model, you have security in place, you can retrieve information. So on top of that, we have something called as a block format, where that's how we store information in our file system. That's much easier, much faster to retrieve information. And we also have something called as index-free adjacency, right? So since we don't have rows and columns, we have nodes and indices. So it's more like a pointer lookup where every node knows about its adjacent nodes, right? So that that makes it much easier to traverse the graph structure. So you can have a really huge graph, and you can traverse the graph very easily with index-free adjacency. So you obviously can read more about it. There's a lot of information on the blog. You can get more information on that. On the scalability front, again, we have, so this is another big enhancements. We have sharding now, right? We have property shards and secondaries on the cloud where you can scale your data horizontally. And obviously you have big machines, big servers to scale vertically as well. So that's scalability. And we have a 99.5% uptime guarantee. So it's highly available data as well across many availability zones, right? So on top of that, we have So on top of that, we have a unified data management layer, right, where like your query, your exploration, your dashboards, everything is in a single pane of view, in a single or a console. And then we have integrations. We also have visualizations like Bloom and different tools to visualize your data, to explore your data. And also we have data integrations with multiple data sources like Databricks, Snowflake, Microsoft, Fabric, Google, AWS, and to name a few. You can bring in data from multiple sources, right? So that's how Neo4j is aligned, to meet your end-to-end requirements, enterprise requirements. So having said that, how do you deploy this, right? So you have different options here on the cloud. You can go all the way from free to dedicated cloud. The free is exactly how it says, it's free. It's free forever. Obviously, you can load up to a certain amount of data there and explore. You can learn more about graphs. You can start with the free. Once you want to have a commercial license, we have professional all the way to dedicated cloud. Professionals is a single instance, and it can go up all the way up to 128 gigs of RAM in the professionals. But if you want mission critical, heavy workloads, obviously you can go to business critical and watch your dedicated cloud. So today, what I'm showing you is we have new capabilities right around this area. So on September 4th, we did announce a lot of the capabilities in this key enterprise areas. So enterprise, again, it support your multiple workloads. It can be horizontal or vertical, or across different regions. We support that. Unified database management is all about lowering your operational workload or overhead and accelerate insights, right? So we have built-in dashboards. We'll talk about that. So that's your database management layer, and we have integrations with many data sources. So that's your data integration. So that's pretty much where we have enhanced across these areas, right? So let's talk about scale. So we did announce something called as Infinite Graph. It's basically a new database, a distributed graph architecture. It's now available. It's only available right now in the self-managed offering. So in the cloud, it's coming up soon. So the whole idea is you can run your operational and analytical workloads, in a single system, and you can scale all the way up to 100 terabytes scale without fragmenting the graphs, right? The whole idea is we have sharded architecture, right? You can have property shards across multiple servers here without losing any of the performance hit, right? So you can scale horizontally across many servers. So you can read more about it. There is a live stream. There should be a video. You can learn more about it. And we also have a blog published on this, and we have a lot more information on this one. Like I said, this is right now on the self-managed offering, but it's coming soon on the cloud. So one big feature which we released is a multi-DB support in AuraDB. Before we had one single database for every instance created, right? If you want to create multiple instances, you had to, or if you want to create multiple databases, you have to create multiple instances. Right now, you can just create one instances, for example, for a single department, and within that department, you have multiple databases. You can create that now, right? So it enables customers to create multiple databases, obviously with a single instance. The whole idea here is, you have less overhead, right? You have fewer instances created to manage. So and monitor, you can create fewer instances and have multiple databases, like many databases. It's a faster setup. You can add databases very easily to your instance, and it's a simpler management as well. So the whole idea is it's cost effective, right? So you don't have to spin up multiple instances to manage. And also it's operationally efficient in the sense you don't have to create you don't have to call support to create those instances, or you don't have to create let's say you have like a 4 gig memory server. If you have to create another instance, you can create within that, right? And then it'll use up the same resources within that instance. So that makes it very easy. So right now it's in preview. It's targeted end of the year, close to Q4. Again, it's designed for feedback right now, and you can obviously work with your sales to get more information, but you can play with it. Right now, it's more on the preview angle. So what are the use cases, right? So typically you'll see that a lot of the OEMs, for example, like partners, right now they would have to create multiple instances if they have many customers to manage. Right now, you can create just one instance for a particular partner, and a lot of the databases, customer databases, can be just managed within that instance. So that makes it much easier. For enterprises, again, it's great for segregation. You can segregate the data, like you can segregate dev, test, and production environments. They can all live in one instance. Also, it's more flexible and efficient in how you manage your workloads. So that's the whole idea. Like how you manage your workloads makes it much easier now. So that's a big step forward in the database management side. So coming to unified data management, like I said, the whole idea here is to lower the operation cost and provide a single pane view to manage all your data and all your fleet. It can be a self-manager or your cloud deployment. So that's the whole idea. So that's what we're working towards, right? Getting all your data, getting all your fleet into one single pane of view. So with the Aura console, you already have that. You already have, I'll show that in a demo, but you already have that. You have dashboards, you have your query, you can explore your data, your visualization tools, everything in one single pane. So towards that, what we've done is we now have adjustable storage, right? So before we had a fixed 1:2 ratio. So like, for example, if you create a 1 gig instance database, you usually get a 2 gig instance storage, and you can't change it, right? That's fixed. So now you can change it. Now you can have that ratio is gone, right? So it's now you can scale your storage regardless of your RAM, right? So your customers can scale resources based on the requirements, and if you want more storage, but you have the same RAM, you can do that very easily. So the whole idea here is you want to avoid unnecessary compute cost, right? When all you need is basically an extra storage. You can scale more efficiently within the same database without having to spin a bigger machine. All right, so that's an added advantage. Another big advantage is operational scalability, right? You can no longer need to manually call customer configurations. You want to change something, you can do that all by yourself within the instance. So this, on the security front, this is a huge step forward. So we already had role-based access control, right? So you could grant and revoke or deny privileges based on roles. So now you can do the same. You can control, read, and traverse your graph or give privileges based on properties, based on nodes and relation properties, right? For example, in this example, let's say you want to deny access on match on retrieving information. If you have a regular users, you want to deny access. Let's say it's on a classified information and in a particular region, you can do that very easily. So this is huge, for regulated industries, especially banking, insurance, where you have sensitive information kept, and you don't want readers to retrieve that information, even in a traversal, right? You're traversing the data, you hit sensitive information, you can deny that information very easily, or on a match or on a traversal. So that becomes really, really important. And again, this is a truly fine-grained security, protecting your sensitive information, right? So this is a big feature. I'll show this in a demo. This is pretty cool. Again, on the security front, we have multi-factor. We already have multi-factor authentication on the database side. Now we have the multi-factor authentication on the organization, right? So we have time-based one-time passwords, codes. You can set that across your organization. So that's one big enhancement. On the dashboards, we already had dashboards released. In fact, this was released a couple of months back, last quarter. We're doing a lot more enhancements to it. So we had open source tool called Neo4j, which is so we're bringing in, which is pretty advanced. It's an interactive dashboard builder. So we're bringing in a lot of those features into dashboards, right? So I'll show this in a demo as well, but yeah, now you can import your dashboards from existing Neo4j, bring that to Aura console, and you can view that everything from a unified console. On the database integrations and ecosystems, now you can import from various data sources, right? Like Databricks, Snowflake, AWS, to name a few. We start supporting the Parquet files as well. You can import it from CSV and TSV files. This is a pretty cool demo I'll show, where you can import it from any of the data sources. You can map the incoming data. You can create the schema in a graph, and then import the data accordingly, right? So that's what I had to show you on the presentation. Let's jump into a demo, right? So let's get to a demo here. Yeah, okay. So what you see here is this is the Aura console, right? You can, like I said, you can create instances, you can import data, you can create graph models, all of that. Again, everything is in a single pane of view. You can do graph analytics. You have Aura agents, which are coming up, which I'll not talk about that now, but they're coming up. There's a query, explore, all of that in one instance, right? We'll come back to the import, but if I have to create an instance here, so I can very easily create an instance, right? You have professional, critical, free, you can choose that. So let me go back to this one. So in here, I want to show you how you create multiple databases here. So that's why I came logged into this instance. So in here, you can choose, and in memory, like I was saying, this adjustable storage. You can store. You can choose any of the storage settings here. All right. By default, you will get at least 1:2 ratio. That's included within the price, but one more, obviously, it's an added cost. So that's easier. So that's a new enhancement. So this is another new enhancement, right? Now, when you're creating an instance, you can create it to support multiple databases within that instance, right? So that's the new enhancement. So I've already created that instance. So this is an instance running. If I inspect this instance, now you can see multiple databases running here, right? Very easy. You can start creating multiple instances. So let's say you're one department and you're trying to create multiple customer databases. You can do that, right? Or you want to create, you want to segregate data. You can do that, right? It's much easier now. So let me connect to this and see how it looks like. So quick minute. Let me grab the password and connect to this database here. So in here, when I connect, you can see by default it connects to a default database, but you can flip the databases now, right? So you have one database which is loaded with data. You can start querying it. You'll see the name of the database here, left to it, and you'll know which database you're querying, and you can flip the databases here as well. So it's much easier now. So now you can do that with one instance. Before you had one instance was tied to one database. Now you can create multiple databases. Again, if I go back to this database, you can see You can inspect. You can yeah, you can inspect this database. You can see all of that information here as well, right? Great. So that's how you create multiple databases. Let's go back to this view here, and okay, let me show you how we create the property-based access control, right? So let me connect to this database here. So I've already connected to this database. So in here, you'll see that I've connected to a particular database which has data loaded. I'll talk about the data. This is logged in as an administrator, right? So let's run a query. Let's run a query where, let me show you the query. Let me get the query here. Okay, so this is the query I'm trying to run. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to run a query where this data is basically a digitized version of your European railroad, right? So we have put all the railroad in a graphical representation, and now we are trying to this query is basically trying to get the shortest path from one station to another, right? In this example, we are trying to get the shortest path from Paddington Station to Malmo Station, right? For example, we're trying to see shortest path. So what this gives you is basically it gives you all the data points between those stations, right? So as you see, you have 247 nodes between those two stations, and that's the shortest path. It gives you the path between those stations. Now, let's say if I click on one of them, let's say this is a name. This is a property within that node, right? Let's say for a particular user, when you log in as a reader, right? Let's say you have a reader, you logged in, you don't want to see the particular station, right? You want to deny access. You want to deny traversal access to that particular person for that particular station, right? So what I've done is, this is how you do it, right? So what I've done is I've logged in as an administrator here. I've denied access. So I've denied traversal access on this graph where this node is called an operation point here. All of these operation points where the op name is some name, right, to a reader. So you're denying access to this reader. So if I run this, I've already run this, so you can already show that this is it's in place. So, but if I want to see in here, it's already in the database, right? So now let me log in as that reader. So I've logged in as Rob, who is who does not have access, who has read access here, and I run the same query, right? So if I run the same query, right? So let me go back and get the query here. Okay. So if I run the same query, you'll see before I had so in there you'd see that I had 247 nodes between Paddington and Malmo Station. Now I have 253 because you've denied access. You've denied traversal for that particular node, right? So if I go back here, so you see 253, and if I go back to the other view, you'll see that it's 247, right? So this is just an example where you can very easily, deny access on traversals or match. You can also do that on match. So if I want to get more examples here, this is documentation on the property-based access control where you can deny, match on a particular regular on a graph for a particular property to regular users or readers or whatnot, right? So you can basically create roles, and then you can deny access based on properties. So that's a big security features that we have. So coming back to this presentation, I have a video which basically shows you how you import data, right? So when you import data, how it matches the data coming from Databricks. So what I have here is we are trying to import data from Databricks. We give all the information to the Databricks node to get the information. So once the database is loaded, we get the metadata information from Databricks. I'll just stop here. I'll just explain. So what we have done is we have taken the metadata information from Databricks. So we are getting from the catalog, we see the data, right? So in here we have, so they're basically rows and columns, right? And you have primary keys, your foreign keys, and all of that information. So we read that information, we get that information, and then when we're loading it, you can confirm the data. Now we are trying to create a graph model based on that information, right? So either you can create manually, or in this case, we are trying to generate that using AI. And then it reads the information, it figures out all the table structures from Databricks, and now we have created a graph model. Right. In here, you'll see that we have created the nodes based on the information coming from Databricks. We have created the relationship based on the keys that's in Databricks, right? So now you can see the model live. And once you confirm that, you can change it. Obviously, you can change the model if you don't like something or something is missing. You can change it. And once you finalize the model, you can start importing the data, right? So once it all looks good, you can start import the data. Once you've imported the data, now you can visualize the data. You can start querying the data. That's what we're doing here, right? So, yeah. Let's speed it up a little bit. Yeah, you'll see that. Now, also in here, we are using a natural language to query the data. Even if you don't know Cypher, you can still use a Copilot, built-in Copilot to query the data. Right. Great. I mean, that's the demo. That's all we had. And for more resources, obviously, like I said, there are blogs published on about InfiniGraph. You can read about it. There's a manual on the security, on the dashboards, on the Aura console. All the links are here. And thank you for listening.